So I have here a couple of the brand new M1 iMacs. I have the base model $1,299 version, and I have a second spec'd up $1,899 version. So, should you pay more? Sponsored by CalDigit. Hey, I'm Jerry, and yeah, I bought two of these brand new 24-inch M1 iMacs so that I could compare them and see if it's worth upgrading and getting a spec'd up version. Both of these computers come with the same M1 chip Apple's been putting in all of their devices over the last 6 or 7 months. It's the 8-core CPU, 8-core GPU, and 16-core neural engine, whatever that is, and it starts with 8 gigabytes of unified memory. The base model that I have over here has that M1 processor, 8 gigabytes of RAM, and 256 gigs of storage. This upgraded version over here has the M1, 16 gigabytes of RAM, and 512 gigs of storage. There are just a couple of other differences that we'll get to in just a moment. First off, both of these iMacs come with that brand new, super slim design. Think of large iPads on a stand. I'll have to admit that in person, it's pretty crazy to see a display that's this thin, but then to also realize that it has a pretty darn fast computer attached to it. The iMac has an all-new stand that is color matched to the iMac and tilts back and forth. On the front, you have a 23.5-inch display that is running at 4.5K resolution and is surrounded by a white bezel and a chin. The bottom of the iMacs are perforated for the new 6-speaker audio system that has 2 pairs of force-canceling woofers and a tweeter, but also the iMac's fans. The new iMacs also come with a brand new camera and mic system, which is actually pretty darn impressive and brings a massive update to the Mac line. The video quality is much improved thanks to the new 1080p camera and image processing from the new M1. It's now on par or better than the video on an iPad. Inside the boxes of both of these iMacs, there are a couple of differences. First, let me just say that the unboxing was kind of wild. First, the iMac sits upside down in the box. Then the sides kind of just fold out, releasing the iMac, and all of the accessories are under a flap. It's interesting packaging. Each iMac gets a color-matched USB-C to Lightning cable for charging the accessories, and a color-matched mouse or trackpad. They each get a braided, color-matched magnetic power adapter as well, and here, the upgraded iMac actually gets an Ethernet port built into the power adapter, whereas the base M1 iMac does not. Then, there's the new color-matched Magic Keyboard, and the upgraded model gets the new Touch ID sensor for the first time on an iMac, and the base model just gets the lock button. And I have to say that after a few days using the Touch ID Magic Keyboard with the iMac, I love it. It's way more convenient and faster than dealing with the watch unlock for Mac, and of course, it's just as good as using Touch ID on any recent MacBook. So physically, what's different? There's there's the colors. The base model has fewer color options and is limited to blue, green, pink, and silver. The upgraded iMac versions can also be had in orange, yellow, and purple. Then there's the ports. The base model comes with just 2 Thunderbolt ports, which is a bit lacking, and then the upgraded model comes with 2 Thunderbolt and 2 USB-C ports. But you know what? No matter which iMac you get, whether it's 2 ports or 4 ports, I'm willing to bet that you either have more things to plug in or devices that can't plug in anyway without an adapter of some kind. And that's where our sponsor CalDigit comes in. CalDigit specializes in Thunderbolt and USB-C docks, hubs, and storage devices. No matter your needs or your budget, CalDigit has a device to help make your computers better, including adding ports to your new M1 iMac. You can use the HDMI dock to connect to your new iMac and get HDMI output to your external display, 3 USB-A ports, a USB-C port, UHS 2 SD card reader, and 1 gigabit Ethernet. For even more ports, there's the CalDigit TS3 Plus, and it's the best Thunderbolt dock I've used, and it comes with 15 ports that your new iMac desperately wants, like DisplayPort, 5 USB-A ports, 2 USB-C ports, Thunderbolt out, audio in and out, and 1 gigabit Ethernet. CalDigit docks can replace all of the ports that are missing on the new 24-inch iMac, and then some. And if you need to connect the highest performance external disks and networking, then the Element Hub comes with 4 Thunderbolt 4 ports, which can connect to super fast external storage or even 10 gigabit per second Ethernet with the help of the Connect 10G. And believe it or not, CalDigit Thunderbolt docks even work with the brand new iPad Pro with M1. So now, both your iMac and your iPad can do more with the help of CalDigit. So physically, other than the ports and colors, they're pretty much physically the same, with the headphone jack on the left side over here and then microphone holes on top. Now, we have a pretty good idea of how these two iMacs with M1 will perform, but just for completeness, we can look at generic tests like Geekbench and Cinebench, and then I want to test out a video export with Final Cut Pro and see how Minecraft runs. Also, did you know that these two iMacs have different fans? Starting off with Geekbench, the new baseline iMac was able to get 1,710 for single core and 7,567 for multi-core, which was a couple hundred points below the mid-range, which hit 1747 and 7717 with 16 gigabytes of RAM. I saw the same thing with the Geekbench metal tests, with the higher end model getting about 2,000 points higher at 21,788 versus 19,846. With the Cinebench R23 test, we got similar results with the 8GB model coming in at 1,482 and 7,132, with the higher end model coming in a bit faster with 1,506 and 7,792. Now, I just want to point out something about the fans. The baseline iMac actually only has a single fan compared to two fans in the other models. The M1 processor is so efficient that I'm not sure that the iMac with two fans really has an advantage over the baseline model when it comes to thermals, but I did notice during the Cinebench test that the baseline iMac hovered around 80 degrees Celsius during the test, and the upgraded iMac stayed a bit cooler at around 72 degrees Celsius, and it's possible that that could be related to the performance difference. Also, the fan sounds a little bit different compared to previous iMacs. It sounds almost like a TV static or even an amplified speaker that is turned up way too high with no audio running through it. During the Cinebench test, the base iMac fan was running at about 7,000 RPM, and it sounded like this. The upgraded iMac's fans were running quite a bit lower, and although there were two fans, they were noticeably more quiet. Of course, when you do get close to them with the fans running, you'll hear them, but the sound from the fans on both of these iMacs is not enough to be concerned or really irritated by. I just wanted to point out that they sound different from previous Macs, and one has two fans and one has one fan. Now, looking at those two benchmark tests, you might think that there's a clear winner here, with this guy being faster. But I was a bit surprised when it came to my Final Cut Pro export. Using one of my old videos, both machines performed just fine in the editor with no issues scrubbing or playing. When exporting the video with the same settings on each machine, I got an export time of 6 minutes and 24 seconds on the baseline iMac, which actually beat out the 16GB iMac's time of 6 minutes and 29 seconds. I mean, they basically performed the exact same on my video export test, even though one of these iMacs has 16 gigs of RAM and one has 8. So looking at Minecraft, both of the M1 iMacs performed exactly as you would expect from an M1 Mac, with mostly jitter-free playing and each one hovering at or near 60 frames per second during gameplay. I also did a quick disk speed test, and the upgraded model did perform hundreds of megabytes faster on write consistently over the baseline model. And then just in general use of browsing, creating docs, watching videos, and just most computer tasks, there is really an imperceptible difference when using these Macs. So, should you pay more? The difference between the base $1,299 iMac and the $1,899 model is broken down like this. The difference between the base model iMac that starts at $1,299 and the mid-tier iMac, which starts at $1,499, is the Magic Keyboard with Touch ID, the Ethernet port on the power adapter, and the 2 additional USB-C ports. Apple charges $50 on the base iMac to add Touch ID on the keyboard, and they charge $30 to add the Ethernet port to the power adapter. That means that Apple is essentially charging $120 for the 2 USB-C ports. Then if you want to upgrade the RAM to 16 gigabytes, that's an extra $200, and it's an extra $200 for 512 gigs of storage. Benchmarks aside, these two computers run pretty much identical in regular day-to-day operation, and you should feel comfortable going with the base iMac. However, you may still want to consider how much RAM your web browser of choice will want in 2 to 3 years. So I would still upgrade to 16 gigabytes if you can afford it. The Magic Keyboard with Touch ID is nice, and I love it, but I don't think that it's a must-have. As far as the Ethernet jack on the power adapter and the difference in ports between the two of them, I think that you're actually better off going with a Thunderbolt dock like from our sponsor CalDigit, which will give you more expansion opportunities than paying $120 for 2 USB-C ports and $30 for Ethernet. And then you can always connect external storage later if needed. All right, so that's my recommendation. Start with the base iMac and work your way up. And if you need more ports, get something that will actually give you more ports. But what do you think? Are you planning on getting one of these new M1 iMacs? And if so, which one and what color? Let me know below. If you're interested in the 2 new M1 iPad Pros, I posted my unboxing and initial testing, including Thunderbolt drive speed, so definitely check out that video. Hit the thumbs up button if you liked it, hit subscribe if you want, and I'll see you next time.